Hey, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society Podcast, reminding you that this podcast is a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out all the other great podcasts on the network at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, the slayer of non-threats, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, a podcast about the men and women of IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. Today is the final episode of 2019, and we present to you part 2 of our interview with Jess Christensen. As we round out the year with a huge Tier 4 match in Georgia, the CCP Sheepdog Challenge, and the World Championship that just wrapped up a couple of months ago with over 25 countries represented, over 500 shooters, and a growing membership around the world. It's really hard to imagine that this sport, IDPA, began in a small town in Arkansas with just 6 people, handpicked by the founder, Bill Wilson. Well, today's guest is one of those first members. He was actually one of the first 3 selected to join, and he was at those very early matches with Bill Wilson on his ranch, shooting and working through the early rule book. He was at the very first national championship. He's won 4 national championships and 2 world championships in his career. He joins us again today to reflect on his amazing career. If you want to hear the first part of this episode, of this interview, go back to Monday's show, episode 131. First, though, I want to thank our sponsor for making this episode and all the shows this month possible. I found my friends Dave and Reagan Williams at Salina Gun Shop when I needed an FFL transfer for a firearm. Several years ago, they were just a tabletop FFL. Well, since that time, they have grown into a one-stop shop for guns, ammo, accessories, gunsmithing, custom engraving, and they are a certified Cerakote applicator. Whether it's a custom build, engraving, or Cerakote, no matter how mild or how wild you want your firearm, no matter what you need, they can handle it. Now, I've taken them older guns that have bad and scratched up finishes. Salina Gun Shop made them look like new. When my wife wanted her own Glock 19, I had Salina Gun Shop Cerakote the frame to just the right color that she wanted. I've had them install new sights on my guns, do repairs and trigger work on my revolvers. I trust them with my guns, and you can too. I cannot recommend them highly enough. Check them out today at salinagunshop.com. That's CELINA gunshop.com. Look for a link in the show notes to get to their website. Or if you're here in North Texas, stop by and visit them in person at 701 North Preston Road, Suite 310 in Salina, Texas. salinagunshop.com. Small town store, big town service. salinagunshop.com. Our special guest today has a single-digit IDPA number 3. Jess Christensen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Welcome to Unload and Show Clear.
Well, I appreciate it, Lauren. It's a pleasure being here.
You are now a master in CDP, ESP, and SSP. But what intrigues me, and I mentioned this to you when we talked at Worlds, you work for Wilson Combat, probably the premier custom 1911 maker in the world, probably.
Uh-huh.
But your specialty is Revolver. You're a distinguished master in Revolver. What is it about Revolver that attracted you to be so proficient with the wheel gun?
That's how I started in Europe. All the way back to Europe. My first real revolver was a 586 Smith that I actually used in IPSC. And soon after I shot 38 Super like everybody else. Back then there was only one division, by the way,
right?
Even in IPSC. Now they got so many. I always thought of revolvers being a little bit more work. It's kind of like more gun to me because all the reloads and all that, and rolling that double action.
Right.
And And to be honest with you, I when I started IDPA, I actually started with a Glock. Go back to that '97 championship up in Jeff City. I shot a Glock 17.
Oh, okay.
I actually came in second overall. I lost the whole match overall by a quarter second to Rob Hort. The guy who won was Rob Hort. I don't think he shoots IDPA anymore. But what happened was my good buddy Alex Zimmerman, who's a very, very good revolver shooter, and we go way back to Denmark. We knew each other back in Denmark back when we were teenagers and all right. He also shot revolvers. He had a K38 Masterpiece back then.
Oh.
However, he over here, when he started shooting IDPA, he shot very little pistol. He pretty much started with revolver, and he had an ongoing winning spree where he simply just won nationals after nationals. And out of respect for my friend, I stayed out of the Revo business, and I shot mostly CDP. I think I only shot Glock in a couple of nationals, and then I changed to CDP. That's always my second choice.
Right.
And I just love that 8-round 45 pistol. I mean, it can't be more gun than that.
Right.
And I never won a nationals in the CDP. I have a couple of second places because Greg Martin always beat me. But you know how he is. So out of respect for Alex, I didn't shoot revolver. And Alex, he won 7 nationals in a row.
Oh, wow.
Straight up in a row. And when he quit shooting in the what was that, 2007 or 8 or something, he quit shooting. He got too busy working. That's when I started shooting Revo more and more, and became instant master. I don't think I have ever been a marksman and expert and all that. I think I always been either expert or master. And but anyway, so for the last 7-8 years, I only shot Revo. And if I go to a match and I see that there's not enough revolver shooters, I usually change to CDP. Because I don't want to get there and just to pick up a plaque and without shooting a match, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I made a new rule for myself. If I don't see more than 4 or 5 revolver shooters in a match, I shoot CDP.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And,
so you've been a master since the very beginning in revolver. So that's, let's see, 2007, say 2008. So 11 years of shooting master level and now distinguished master level revolver. Talk about some of the competition that you had. I know, like you said, that as time has gone on, less and less people shoot revolver. And unless you get to a really big match, you don't find as many to compete against. But talk about the level of competition over those years in the revolver division. Who were some of your big rivals once Alex stopped shooting? And what were some of those? Share some stories of some of those big matches over the years.
Well, most of the guys back then, they don't shoot anymore. And to be honest with you, I've forgotten some of the names, but you have a great shooter like Derek Hill from Texas.
Yep.
And he's what you could call my nemesis. Or, you know, my competition. I mean, if I remember right, I think there's only maybe only 3 or 4 DM in revolver,
right?
If even that.
Yep.
I'm not sure. And this is not bragging, but I really haven't seen much competition, and the reason being is because it's a division that nobody really shoots. You know, let's face it. I mean, at the nationals, if you have close to 20 in my division, that's all you're gonna get. I mean, that's it.
Right.
And there's never any DMs. Because I think there's only one other DM shooter, if I remember right. I can't remember his name, but I think he's from the Northeast.
Okay.
And I haven't shot against him at the Nationals. I'm trying to think here. I don't know. I think there's only like 2 or 3 DMs.
What is
to
it?
be honest with you.
Right. What is it over the years that has made you think, is it that has made Revolver sort of fall out of favor? How do we make Revolver sexy again, I guess, is the question I'm getting at. It's so easy, like you were talking about earlier, to go out and pick up a gun at your local gun shop, an automatic, and immediately be competitive with it. Talk about the challenge of shooting the Revolver. What makes it so, like, we've talked to several people on the show who say every year they trot the Revolver out, they give it a go, they immediately clean it and put it back in the box and don't touch it again for another year because it's humbling. What is it? What's
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot more Revolver shooters. Revolver owners that when you think of it, right? Okay, here's the bottom line. I think most people they own like a J-frame, like a little snub nose.
Right.
That's the one that goes in the Bermuda shorts when they go down to 7-Eleven. However, when they go to a match, for them it may not be sexy enough to shoot a Revolver, right? It seems a little bit like old style or boring to them.
Right.
And
they don't remember Dirty Harry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hate to say this, but to break the news here, but I think Revolver is a little bit of a dying sport within action shooting, unfortunately. And the reason being is that the next generation who grows up in a semi-automatic world,
right,
they don't think of revolvers as being real defensive or competitive handguns. For them, it's simply too boring. They want a semi-automatic, like their dad has, or. But I tell you, a revolver, it still works for real self-defense. I mean, a lot more people than we realize actually carry revolvers, maybe sometimes as a second gun, police officers and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the semi is the reigning gun in competition, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
For me though, the reason I like revolver shooting is because I like to work the gun a lot. Or not only the double action, but you constantly have to reload.
Right.
It's a completely different game. We all shoot our own division, right? And there's no way you can compare revolver division to like stock service pistol. So when I'm at a stage, we plan differently and this and that. And a lot of people ask me, what's the key to winning a match? It's very, very simple. Never try to shoot any better at a match day than you do in practice. Because why should you be able to shoot any better on match day than you do in practice, right?
Right.
And also another key that another thing that I found out over the years: never ever try to win a stage. Just let it happen by itself.
Just let it happen.
And I got don't try to win a stage. And don't try to shoot out. Stay with the gun. Don't let the gun get away from you. The way you win in revolver division is by executing fast reloads and no flat-footed reloads, and don't miss. There's, and I'm getting older now. Think about it. I'm in the senior division, right? And a lot of the younger people who have the moves and the eyes and all that, on some stages they beat me with 6 or 7 stages on some of the. But with the point system, you need to get your points.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds good. It was when they always read out your time before they start scoring the targets, and they say, like, "Yep, this guy shot in 17 seconds flat, right?" But that's a good time for the specific stage if I shoot it like in 21 seconds. But if he's 9 points down and I'm 1 down, that don't help him. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's where my bullseye background really helps me.
Okay. So you shot revolver way back when, so you learned that. I think that's one of the big challenges too for people who it seems to me it's easier for people to transition based on just from interviews of people I've talked to, it seems to me that it's easier to transition from the revolver to the semi-auto than from the semi-auto to the revolver, because the revolver is so difficult to master. And once you do, your semi-auto shooting, like I had a class with Grant Cunningham a couple of years ago, a revolver class, and he talked about how if you can master that double action revolver trigger, it will make your semi-auto shooting that much better.
It simply forces you to become more accurate shooting a double action, because there's no way you can run that trigger too fast and have accurate hits. I mean, that's only Jerry Michalik who can do that. I mean, let's face it. You know what I mean? But I mean, he's a machine when it comes to revolvers, right?
Right.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right about what you said. It's patience. It takes a certain time to roll that double action, and the further away the target is, the harder it is, and all that. You got to have that visual patience, and you cannot run the trigger too fast. I mean, it's going to show.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to show.
Yeah.
And see, I'm pulling 7.5 pounds where other people, they're pulling 2. Right.
Right.
So plus I got to reload constantly, right?
Yep.
So it forces you to be more patient, it forces you to stay with the gun more and follow through to some extent. I mean, it's the same basics no matter what handgun you have. It's all in the trigger pull.
Mm-hmm.
Side picture it don't mean that much if your trigger pull is executed perfectly.
Right.
Because most of the targets in IDPA, they are pretty much within 8 to 12 yards, right?
Right.
And it's a big circle for zero down, and you have a lot of sweet spot to aim at. So it all cooks down to the trigger pull.
Right.
Because you can aim dead center, and if you jerk that trigger, it may not even be on the target at 5 yards.
Right. Yep. Very true. So
and the way I practice for matches, I have learned from the true masters in the world, because I shot Bianchi Cup and all kind of games, and every time people, they open their mouth that I know is a lot better than me, I listen. They're like a book. That's when it's time to shut up and listen. When Doug Koenig and Robbie Letham and Bruce Pyatt and all those guys, they start talking about accuracy and how to become better and this and that, that's like a book to me.
Right.
So I had the pleasure of meeting and running with the best shooters in the world, and I shot, I mean, over hundreds of matches with Jerry Michalik over the years, and watching every move he makes. So I learn from what I see, and if it works for them, it probably also works for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's learning from what you see.
What is your preparation like for a major match? You just finished Worlds recently. What is preparation for a big revolver match like? Is it different in any way from your preparation if you're going to shoot CDP, or is it exactly the same sort of approach?
No, I practice the same basis.
Okay.
The same basics. I practice the same basics. I focus a lot on hard shots, tight shots, head shots, weak hand, and strong hand only. And also I like to practice in awkward positions, like you're kneeling around a corner and stuff like that.
Right.
And shooting out of my comfort zone is what I practice more and more, because the easy stuff, I've been doing it for 40 years now, and the easy stuff, I wouldn't say it gets boring, but you become a trigger jockey. You're running the match the same way. I call it a trigger jockey when it's too easy, just to stand up straight and put 2 rounds on a target at 7 or 10 yards.
Right.
And so what I do is I practice my reloads a lot and get back on target. I don't shoot a high volume of rounds, but I shoot a lot of tricky shots, weak hand, strong hand, and headshots.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I won 4 nationals and 2 worlds is simply because of classifiers. Because you can you can run through a match and shoot 90% of all the stages in a safe manner.
Mm-hmm.
You up and down a little bit. You may not win them all. You might, some stages you fifth overall, and then you win 1 or 2, and then you third, and this and that. That's all good and fine. But sometimes you come to some of the tricky stages when you shoot like 3 or 4 strings.
Mm-hmm.
Typical. You draw, you shoot 2 to the body and 1 to the head, and you reload and shoot.
Your standard stages.
Exactly. The next string is strong hand only, and then weak hand only, and stuff like that, and and it's limited round count. So that's one of my strong stages to shoot standards.
Okay. Now you mentioned the 4 nationals and the 2 worlds. Talk about any memories from those wins, those matches. Any one of them or a particular part of any one of them sticks out in your mind that was interesting or fun or just really challenging? Something you're really proud of over those 6 big wins?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to matches, I kind of have a short memory because I look forward to the next one. I kind of live for the moment, right? No, I don't. I just shot solid, and I can't really point out anything that stands out. I'm sorry to say, but I just got to be honest. I mean, they were all just fun, interesting matches, and when I'm there, I pay full attention to everything that's going on. And I will say, one thing that sticks out is some more often is when I do something really wrong, right?
Right.
I remember in 2016 down in Crescent in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the year after I had won my world in Tulsa in 15. So I had high expectations about keeping a winning spree going. And I think it was on stage 6. You were supposed to shoot 3 rounds per target.
Oh,
And
no.
here I am, living in my own world. It was some kind of stagecoach. You had to get up and in a stagecoach and shoot a total of 18 rounds.
I remember. Yep.
And I only shot 2 on each. and I came in second. I think I dropped so many points that there was no coming back there. So that's something that was a lesson learned. I actually learn more from when I'm doing something wrong than I do it right, because sometimes I'm just on autopilot,
Right.
because like so many other shooters, when I'm up on. When we have the walkthrough on a stage, of course, like some other shooters, I shoot the stage inside my head before I'm actually on the line.
Right.
I try to see each side picture and try to develop a plan B. And sometimes you don't have enough time. But I have learned over the years, stick with your plan, whether it's the best or not.
It's yours. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Because there's nothing more irritating than if you're up there and you see a guy from your own division, Revolver division, and gee, why didn't I think of that? He shot it so much better, right? But you may be the next shooter after him. But I have learned my lesson well, that don't try to change your game plan in the moment of truth, because you're going to fail.
When you squad for a match, do you look for other revolver shooters to shoot with, or do you specifically try to avoid that so that you don't have that kind of thing happen?
Well, I really like to shoot with the other revolver shooters, but it don't have to be. Like here, the last World where we made over in Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
There was no revolver shooters in my squad whatsoever, so I had no idea how I was sitting. But again, I mean, I'm not superstitious about it. I mean, I do what I can do, right? And
right.
But of course, being competitive, you keep an eye on the other ones. You know how over there we shot AM and PM.
Yep.
So I got a chance to watch some of the other revolver shooters, and I watched Derek Hill shoot stage 1, and he executed that stage absolutely perfect. I mean, absolutely perfect. He was only like 1 or 2 points. A very difficult stage. I don't know if you remember it, but it was a very difficult stage with a fast swinger.
Oh yeah, yep, I remember.
And there was a drop turner to the right that most people didn't even activate because it was so fast, and there was a a non-threat right behind it.
Yep.
And so it was very, very easy to hit it, right?
Right.
It not exactly shoot through, but it was so close that at that distance it was really out there. I think it was out at 15 or 16 yards, and there was a bear trap you were supposed to activate, but people didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Derek Hill, he shot that perfect, and that was one of my worst stages. I only shot 2 stages bad in the world. Out of what we shoot 18 stages, I think I won 9 of them. And again, never try to win a stage. If you happen to win, that's fine. But there was 2 stages I shot really bad, and that was one of them.
Gotcha.
And I was thinking, the moment I saw him shoot, I said, "Gee, why didn't I think of that?" The way because we have a different round count and stuff like that.
Yep.
And his game plan was just perfect. And so I learn from all other shooters I see. I never stereotype and say, well, just because this guy may be a sharpshooter, he's not worth watching. No, everybody's worth watching, because you can always learn something.
Just don't change your plan based on what you see.
Right. That's the key. That's the key. That's the key. And also at the World Shoot, actually, when we had that stage where we shot the left hand only, the one where you were handcuffed up.
Oh, where you were,
with
the cuff on, yeah.
Man, that was a very, very, that's probably the toughest stage I have shot in my whole IDPA career. Everything was weak hand only.
Right.
And a lot of people kept that sling on. It's where you have a sling on your right arm.
Yep.
And a lot of people didn't. And the way I saw it, I didn't really have to get rid of it, because I could still reload, right? And you constantly have to reload. But the shots were so tight because of the way you have to use cover.
Right.
And shooting between the ports of the walls and all that. So you really have to keep a steep angle to get them, and kind of pivot around you almost lose balance, right? Because it's just weak hand only.
Yep.
I almost considered taking a flagrant, where you get the 20 seconds penalty on purpose and shoot it freestyle.
Right.
Because I actually think I could have made up those 20 seconds by shooting it. But then again, it's not in the spirit of the sport. As then, you better stay within the rules, the way they intended it to be. And
right.
But I was thinking, I wish I could set the stage up tomorrow and try it and compare the times, but you can't never set a stage up the same way,
Yep. And it just wouldn't look, it just wouldn't be kosher to have one of the founding members, the first 3 members of IDPA, to take a flagrant to try.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It might.
Well, yeah. Now you asked me if I remember something about not necessarily the nationals, but any match I shot. I remember 5 years ago I was visiting up in Minnesota, and being the winter time, of course they shot indoor matches. I mean, when it's -10 outside, so we shot an indoor match, and so I came in, and my good buddy John Kobe, who's an IDPA shooter, he said, let's go down to the local club and shoot an IDPA match. And so we went down there, and the nice woman sitting behind the table taking our money and writing down the info for the match, getting it started. John told that woman, hey, I brought a new friend. So she thought I was also a new shooter, right?
Oh, no.
And she looked at me, like a little bit of kind of like a stringent eyes and said, "Do you have any prior experience with firearms?" I said, "Yeah, a little bit." I said, She said, "Are you a member of Are you a member of IPSC or USPSA or NRA? Have you taken any safety classes? And can you draw safely out of a holster?" She could have killed all that by just asking, "Are you a member of IDPA?" So then I got a little. So instead, I just said, "Would it help if I'm a member of IDPA already?" oh, yeah, sure. She said, "I need to see your membership card." And when she looked at my number, she almost had a heart attack. She was giving me the whole story. We take safety very, very seriously. You can't just walk in from the street and. That was a funny moment. She said, "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry." "No, you don't have to be sorry. We just laughed it off,
You just played along and.
Yeah. So I became a guru there for 10 minutes. Oh wow, I said, yeah, I joined early.
So we mentioned that you're now a distinguished master in Revolver. Where did that occur? Where were you awarded distinguished master?
That was in Tulsa in 2015.
15. Okay. What do you remember?
I
know you put every match behind you and look forward to the next, but do you remember much about that day, about that match?
Yeah, I remember I won kind of like by luck because I shouldn't have won that match. And I can't remember the guy's name. He's an older guy. He's a really nice guy. He lives here in the South. And he made a major mistake on stage 11. I remember that because he kind of backtracked his own move on the stage and ran back to get a target he thought he had missed. But time-wise, he just got confused. But he would have had me by 5 or 6 seconds, and he ran back and shot that target. And just to realize that first of all, it was a non-penalty target, and he already hit it. But he thought he didn't.
Oh man!
And I remember he was shaking his head even as he was unloading his gun and show clear. And that was his last stage, and he lost the match right there to me.
Oh wow!
And I almost felt, but anyway, so I won the match. I think I won with only 4 seconds or something. So a win is a win, and
yeah,
anything goes as long as you're within the rules. Anything goes. But I kind of felt sad about that winning.
Huh.
Think about it. It's a combined nationals and world, and then you go from master up to DM because of somebody else. I didn't feel. I didn't feel I deserved that win. But then again, you're within the rules, and anybody can mess up a stage, right?
Right. A couple more questions before we wrap up. I wanted to you talked about this before we started recording. You talked about and you kind of alluded to early on in the show. You talked about sort of the immature attitude that in Scandinavia they have towards guns, and a lot of and you mentioned to me videos that you do specifically for that audience to try to show them or correct them on some of their misconceptions about guns. What motivated you to do that, and give us a little idea of what some of those things are?
Well, it was a guy who suggested me on Facebook that I should make a separate closed group on the use of guns and all that. And what kind of triggered the whole thing was regular gun talk on Facebook. And I showed a couple of short videos, and they found them so interesting. They said, "Well, make a group for that has just to do with guns and gun stuff and all that." And see, over there with limited freedom and access to guns, and also watching all these Hollywood movies, Dirty Harry and John Wayne and all that, I started getting all these questions. Can you actually draw from the hip and shoot cans off a rail, or can you hit an airborne target, or how far can you shoot a 45 ACP or 44 mag on the accuracy, or to what distance and all that? So instead of just talking about it, since I have a shooting range in my yard, I just went out and made some very short videos of it, where I just explained, okay, today we're about to shoot like 6 shots with a 44 mag on a steel plate as fast as we can with factory loads and see if we can control it. We set up an IPSC target at 10 yards, and then I do it, right?
Right.
And or I throw a can in the air and shoot it with a 38 snub nose, or and I shoot like a 1911, almost like full auto, kind of like Bob Munton, but you bounce the trigger, so you empty a whole magazine in a little over half a second and all that. So there's like a half inch between the casings coming out of the gun. And so now I have hundreds of these videos. So it's kind of like trick shooting group, on Facebook, and they want to see, and I shoot guns upside down. There's one I just posted. I shoot my 627 8-shot Smith on 150 yards on a small steel plate upside down, and but I actually chose the wrong loads. They were steel chance loads. They're too weak, and on my third shot, because I could call my shots, and they were hitting like 3 inches under the plate because they only have a power factor of 110. So then I compensated. It's just hard when you have to aim at the grass. You don't have a reference, but you're aiming like 2 to 3 feet over the target. So I think I have 5 hits out of 8 upside down, and that's 150 yards, and that's all on Facebook. And so I also have one where I actually do a tombstone scene, the bar scene with Johnny Ringo
Mm-hmm.
and Doc Holliday.
Yep.
Where he he does all the gun spinning.
Yep.
And that was actually some of the guys down at Wilson's, some of the pistol smiths. They say, well, you can only shoot accurate and all that, but can you actually do some gun spinning, some fast and fancy gun plays? And so after a year or so, I manned up, and I haven't done it for 20 years. I used to be pretty good at gun spinning, so I did a tombstone scene, where he draws up and do that gun spinning. So
very cool. I know it was the tie to Wilson Combat and Bill Wilson inviting you to be one of the very first members, but you do compete in other shooting disciplines. I saw a picture on your Facebook page with you and some I-Corps trophies. You shoot this a bowling pin match, national bowling pin match every year. What is it about IDPA that keeps you coming, despite the fact that sort of Revolver is diminishing as time goes on? What keeps you coming back to IDPA? What is it about the sport that's special?
I like the people. I like the environment. I mean, in one way, we are one big family. I mean, you don't have to explain yourself. Everybody knows why you have an interest in it, and you just feel welcome. And let's face it, it's trigger time, it's quality time, with good friends, it's fun, it's demanding. It's just for the love of the sport. I mean, anytime I can have quality trigger time in a good environment with nice friends, I'm all for it. And you can call it steel chance, IPSC, or IDPA. As long as it's fun and nice and challenging, I'm all in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And also you gotta remember, I'm living in the middle of the whole IDPA thing, in the heart of everything, right? So it's very easy for me to shoot IDPA because every club around here has IDPA, right? And
and you work for the guy who created it, so.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and I actually a lot of people make fun of me. They say, "Well, you sit here all day long and make some of the finest 911s in the world. I mean, and all you shoot is Revolver. Isn't that treason?" But I can tell you, I know a lot of people have a love for revolvers. They may not shoot them all the time, but there's a lot more people owning revolvers than you may think. And I know Bill back in the day, see, we used to be neighbors, right? So I could hear him shoot on a Saturday. So I said, okay, I better walk over there, and I can't tell you how many times we've just been out spending the whole day outside with 44 Magnums, because Bill's true love is also revolver hunting, right?
Oh,
You got to remember, Wilson Combat used to sell Ruger Red Hawks and stuff like that. That was tricked out with a scope on for big game hunting. So, and I know Bill has a great respect and love for revolvers. It's just a different tool for the trade, you know.
right.
But what I like about IDPA is that, see, we started out with 4 divisions, now we 8, right? And the more the merrier, because the more options people have, the more members, the stronger we are, the more shooters, right?
Right.
So,
Jess, you've given us a lot of time here, and I really appreciate it. It was a great it was great to get to meet you face to face at Worlds, and I'm honored that you decided to join us on the show, and look forward to seeing you at a match in the near future.
yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and thanks for making these podcasts.
All right, folks, that is going to wrap it up, not only for this show, but for 2019. I want to thank all of you who have tuned in and listened to the show over the past, what's it been now, year and a half almost, 15, 16 months. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening and for your words of encouragement. Thank you to those of you who have contributed, who are patrons of the show and who are helping to keep this show going. Big plans for 2020 coming up. I will have an announcement on that next week. And this is our last show of 2019. We're going to take a couple of weeks off, kind of regroup and re-energize and enjoy the holidays with friends and family. I hope you do as well. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will talk to you in 2020. Thank you again for listening and for your support. We'll talk to you next year.